Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 69 of ZK Live. I am Zach Kenney. Tonight we have Tim Perryman from Perryman Painting. Awesome dude. I've been talking to him a little bit. I first noticed him on a painter's forum for business, the Business Brush, where I just noticed a comment and I was like, wow, that guy sounds smart. That was a really smart, intelligent comment. And so I just sent him a message. Hey, man, sounds like you know what you're doing. We got on a call. He started as a craftsman, like a lot of us do, tradesmen, and he's built a very successful company that runs like a business.
What's going on, Zach?
Nothing, man. I'm so glad. Give us 10 minutes, and we're both undefeated against technology once again.
Nice. How's that polybuzz going for you?
Woo, boy. Feeling it. I'm going to get a bit goofier the whole time.
Nice. Very nice.
For those who don't know, I'm in a shop right now where polyester was sprayed about an hour ago and is now wafting its way up into my office. Where are you?
I am in Northern California, just outside of Sacramento, in a small town of, I think it's less than 900 of us in Penryn. So we're just about 20 minutes outside of Sacramento, though. So we're like out in the country, but right next to, metro area. So it works out pretty good.
And you do most of your work in that metro area then, Sacramento?
Yeah. I was born down in San Francisco, but I've lived up here, moved here when I was like 5, and I've lived in this area my whole life. So it's a great part of the world, right at the base of the Sierra Mountains. We're 2 hours from Lake Tahoe and, skiing and camping and lakes and all that stuff up in the mountains, and less than 2 hours from San Francisco. So
pretty good deal.
California's a big state, though. Southern California is about a 6-7 hour drive from here.
I think I could get.
I know, because my daughter just moved down there. So we've been traveling down there the last year or so to go visit. So.
And that is not a green screen that's behind you.
No, that's my backyard.
It looks like green. It's a beautiful backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. So the painting business has been good to you. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been doing it. God, over 30 years now. Started our company in 1992. So that was before internet, guys. For those of you that are younger, back when we didn't have cell phones, the fax machine was brand new. Windows just started coming out. When I first started, I was doing my books with a handwritten ledger. Right? Didn't have cell phones. Things have changed a lot since then.
That's crazy. So what started, why painting? What got you into painting?
It just probably, like most of us, right, kind of fell in my lap. In high school, I was working for Burger King in a fast food restaurant, and I was always a hustler. So I got moved up to management pretty quickly. One of my good friends of mine was a roommate of mine, just outside of high school. And he started painting, was making more money than me after 6 months than I was managing a restaurant. So, and he was a slacker. So I said, dude, you got to get me a job. I can grow my hair long. I can work outside. I can start my own company in 3 or 4 years. In California, you got to have a license for everything. So you can't just go start a painting company. You got to put in your time. You got to file for your license. And so I started painting, doing track houses. And, because of my management experience, I became foreman within 6 months, and, painting's not super hard. And I was a hard worker. So did that for 4 years, got my license. A couple years after that, the wife joined the company, and, just started growing, expand, contract. Anyone who's been in business for a long time knows what I'm talking about.
So how quickly did you get yourself out of the field when you started your company?
It didn't take too long. I mean, I've started off as a painter. So I started my company. We pretty much specialized in new custom homes, repaints. Didn't really do any track work when I first started. But I think probably 3-4 years, I had 8-9 guys working for me, and I became the sales guy and the manager. It didn't take too long. Probably 2002, 2003, we had 60 guys working for us. We had a really big shop. It just kind of grew. This one day I look back at the wife, I'm going, oh my God, what happened? How did this thing grow into this big old monster, We were doing a lot of different types of work, but we weren't having a lot of fun. We're always chasing dollars, trying to pay the bills. So and we got lucky. It was right before the big market turn in 2008. We decided to shrink the company down and just focus on repaints again. Got out of doing just about everything else. Just focused on residential repaint. Shrunk it down to 10 guys. And then 2008 hit, and luckily we were moving everything back to the house. So we were just in survival mode for a few years, and then we decided to make another run at it back in, it's 5-6 years ago. Hired a sales guy and started growing the company again. So,
talk about a great time to start to downsize.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky. Yeah. Sometimes you don't get lucky, right? But sometimes when you get lucky, you get lucky. So I believe in karma. Always do the right thing, and good things will come to you.
I have some friends a couple people I know who have talked about downsizing, and they haven't actually done it. And so what was it that made it so you were like, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to be smaller?
It was probably 2005. We had about a $5 million a year painting company. We were doing a lot of public works, so we're carrying a lot of payroll. We need a lot of working capital. And we just got tired of chasing money, fighting to get paid. So we made the wife and I, so my wife's my partner, right? So we've been in business forever. We made a list of pros and cons for everything that we're doing. We were doing track houses, new commercial work, public works, residential repaints, new custom homes, industrial work. We were doing all kinds of different stuff. So we just made a list of pros and cons. And we made a list down, all the pros and cons for each division we were running. And when we did that, residential repaints, highest profit margins. We control our manpower. We control our schedule. You get paid right when you're done. Your cash flow is the exact opposite of the type of work. The only negative was you needed to do a lot of them. So you needed to sell a lot. You had to start a lot of jobs, finish a lot of jobs, and all that stuff. But other than that, it's kind of a no-brainer. So we just got out of doing all that stuff. I got tired of working for builders and all that stuff. And it's by far the best decision we've made business-wise in the 30 years I've been doing it, So
I love that. The stepping back and going, what's actually working here? Let's go, is this good or is this not good? Rather than just doing, I think is very valuable.
Yeah, I think, as business owners, we're like gluttons for punishment. When you get a win, it's like, okay, well, that was cool. What's next? It's got that entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, well, I got that one. Okay, what's next? We're always looking for the next best thing, right? Everything's going great. Well, let's double it. Let's grow it, right? And, you shouldn't just grow just for growth's sake. You should always think in terms of, why am I growing? What's the purpose, right? Am I just doing it because I want to be the biggest painting company because it sounds cool, right? That's when we're young. And when I was young, I was like, I just want to be the biggest contractor. I want to, do it all, not even really thinking about how it's going to affect my life, my family, my quality of living and all that stuff. So I always, a lot of guys, I want to grow. I say, why? Why do you want to grow? What are you chasing? Do you want to be the biggest company? And if so, why? Right? Do you want to own your market? Why? What are you going to get from that? Right? You want quality of life. You want more free time. Probably don't want to grow your company because that's not going to happen. You grow your company and it's going to suck you in. And if you don't do it right, you'll be wallowing in that for a long time. So, don't just grow for growth's sake. I mean, you can run a small company with 6 guys and have a good life and not stress about making payroll and legal problems and all that stuff. So, whenever I'm talking to young contractors, they say, I want to grow. I want to be as big as you are. I'm going, why? Why? Just because I have nothing else to do with my business, right? So, not quite sure where we got started down that line, but, so that's where we're at right now. I mean, so my company right now, what it looks like, and that's one of the things you wanted to talk about. So we have about 40 employees right now. We did about $3.5 million in revenue last year. We also do remodeling. I got my general contractor's license about 5-6 years ago. We've always done extra services in our company, right? Dry rot repairs and drywall. And we started doing, crown molding, installing doors, cabinet modifications. And then finally, I just decided to get my general contractor's license and start marketing it for it. So last year we did about $3.5 million. We're almost 50-50 remodeling and painting. I pretty much have two divisions, a separate amount. So I call them profit centers. We track a P&L separately for each division, so I know how each one's performing. So we have, on the sales side, I have 3 full-time sales guys. And we have a marketing assistant. He pretty much, his full-time job is answering phones, scheduling appointments. He does follow-ups. He's responsible for lead conversions, converting leads into appointments, managing the sales guys' calendars, getting all their assets together for them so they can run their appointments well. And then his follow-up phone calls. On the production side of it, we have a field superintendent for our painting division. He pretty much is responsible for, he's pretty much an HR guy too. He does all of our hiring. We put him to the test last year with COVID, man. It was most turnover we ever had last year. It was crazy. But so he does all our recruiting and hiring, training new guys, make sure they get onboarded properly, checks in with all of our crew leaders every day, manages the tough jobs, tough customers, warranty calls, stuff like that. So our crew leaders pretty much on our painting side running the day-to-day. And then we have a superintendent on the remodel side. His core role is a little bit different, but he runs all the remodeling side. And we have a project coordinator that pretty much, when jobs come in, she schedules the jobs. She makes sure we have all of our product selections, sends out work orders, prepares job packages, kind of manages the customer from the time the job gets sold to the time the job starts, right? Then our field personnel take it from there. So my wife, Christy, she does all of our marketing for us. That's her main role in the company. And then we have, I think we peaked out around 20 painters last year. We pretty much run 2-man crews, painting inside and outside. On the remodeling side, we only have 4 hourly employees. Everything else is subcontract work. So on the remodeling side, we treat our painting company like a subcontractor, right? So we subcontract the painting out to the painting company. And then we have a full-time bookkeeper. We call him the bean counter. Brandon's been with us forever. He pretty much could do everything in our company. So, and that's pretty much our company structure. Where we're at right now, we're going for about a 15% growth this year. We've toyed with actually scaling back this year because with all the unknowns with the economy and COVID, new president, all that stuff, we talked about shrinking the company back down again and just focusing on, profitable work and all that stuff. So it didn't pencil out. So we decided to go for about a 15% growth model, which we think is doable. Last year we had big growth plans and we got totally just hammered by COVID. So learned a big lessons last year, right? Can't control what you can't control. So
I recall you posting about that you had like 3 options that you were kind of looking at for next year. Was that right?
Yeah. So, I talked a little bit earlier about, why we do what we do. And for me, there's several reasons why I'm in business. I love helping people. I love coaching my employees. I love taking care of customers. My heart's on my business. I hate it when things go bad. I hate it. The worst thing in the world is an unhappy customer. And I rely on so many people to make customers happy that it just hurts when that happens. So a win for me in business is to have a company that can run by itself without me. Meaning the wife and I could leave town for a month or 2 months, do whatever, come back. We're still selling work. We're still producing work. We're still making customers happy. The company's actually moving forward without me, right? And that's kind of been the thing that drives me the most. I look at business as a game, right? I'm a big video gamer. I have been ever since I was a kid. I was the kid that could play asteroids, stand-up asteroid games. Those of you guys that are, old like me, I'm almost 52. So I was the kid that play asteroids for 5 hours and walk away from the game with 10, extra guys there. So business is like a game, right? It's all about collecting assets and resources and how to utilize them and just get better at it, So So that's kind of what I did. So I was thinking, hey, we could shrink the company down, just run maybe 15 painters, just go after the gravy remodel stuff, keep the company small. We don't need to hire a bunch of people. I can use my existing infrastructure with who I've gotten, actually cut back a little bit. That sounds good, but on paper, it didn't work out, right? In order to do that, I have to scale back. And when you only have one sales guy, you're at risk, right? You got to jump in and do his job for him. You only have one project manager, he leaves, you got to jump in and do a job for him. So it's better to be a little bit more diversified, right? You want to have extra people in there so that the redundancy. So if someone leaves, you're not stuck holding the bag and having to hire someone and spend 6 months of your life trying to replace them and get them trained. So then we looked at, that was like a $1.5 million company, right? And then we looked at a $2.5 million company, and that didn't really pan out either. We could do it, but there would be almost no profits left. So we kind of reverted back to our old plan, but a mini growth model, right? 4 million, everything goes to plan. We're going to be making, about a 12 to 14% net profit, after we get paid and everything. So, always looks good on paper though, right? You put the plan on paper and it doesn't always pan out that way. So
that $2.5 million company that didn't make a lot of profit, was that the one where you weren't going to work much?
Right. That was us pulling out, and not really pulling out, right? We were going to have to do some basic infrastructure stuff and get some things in place, but then be able to pull out, right? On paper, right? If I lose one of our key people, I'm right back in it again, right? So, and we were in a bad place last year. COVID was a mind bender, right? For us, I mean, we're in California, so our shutdown here, or my cat just jumped on the table, so it's moving around a little bit. So everything shut down, April or March 16th, 15th, something like that. I don't remember what it was. Got a text. State shut down, panic set in. Never worked so hard just to try to keep the doors open, try to figure out what we're going to do. Half of my guys checked out mentally. Some of them just went after the free unemployment money. Some of them were afraid to go to work. We shut down and we reopened and we couldn't get customers, didn't want to call us. So, I mean, just so much unknowns last year. It was just a struggle. Didn't hit our goals, obviously. Although we grew by 15% from the previous year, we had big growth goals last year. We were hoping to grow by 50%. So margin, we barely made any money, and we got so lucky that the weather was beautiful here. Normally, our outside season shuts down around Thanksgiving. And this last season, I mean, we're still painting outside. We didn't really have we didn't have an off season, So we had an awesome November. We had an awesome December. January, although we usually don't make any profit in January, we almost broke even in January, and February's looking awesome. So my optimism was kind of November. I'm like, screw this. I'm going to do something different. This is horrible. And then things started getting better. I'm like, hey, you know what? We're not so busy now. I kind of got my little breather. I'm putting together my plans. I'm going, hey, you know what? Let's make another run at it. So we decided to go ahead and do a little growth plan again and see what happens. I still think I can do it without having to work as much as I did last year, but we'll see. We'll see.
So from the time you started and you started your own thing, you were painting in the field, you started bringing people in, how were you able to step away and have predictable results? Did you just naturally understood how to write standard operating procedure?
Predictable results. Come on, when you first start running the business, you have no idea how to predict anything, right? I mean, everything's different now. Information is so much easier to get. I mean, when I was starting my business, it was just all a go, 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 go. And, I didn't have production rates. I mean, I was a good guesser and I knew what my guys could produce. Just flying by my seat of my pants. You know what I mean? Just willing success. I didn't get good at predicting and forecasting until 10 years ago. And even over the last 5 years, I mean, I've really improved that skill. I mean, we're getting to a point now where we're really good at forecasting just about everything in a company. And we track everything weekly. I mean, I didn't do all that 15, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? I know your audience, and I guarantee you that most of the guys out there listening to this thing, they're winging it. They are just winging it, right? Can't remember who it was. I mean, about 5, 6 years ago when I started to grow it again, I said, I'm going to get some mentors and coaches, and I've gotten a new coach every year. And one of them said, Tim, if you want to grow your business, you need to start measuring everything, right? It's not hard. Just take the damn measurements, put them into a spreadsheet, and figure it out. And that way you can hire a sales guy, and he's not going to have to guess. He can use your process, your system. He's got to measure everything right and learn how to sell stuff. And, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. And then finally I said, you know what? I need to start doing that. And I just started doing it, and everything just became so much. Once I started tracking that, then I started tracking other things. And next thing you know, I got all these spreadsheets and scorecards, and started looking forward instead of most of us, we look at trailing indicators, right? We finish a job. We look at our most of us probably don't even look at a profit and loss statement, right? How much do we make? What do we owe in taxes, right? You start doing job costing, right? Then you go, well, we just finished a job and oh God, we only made 25% gross profit. That sucks. But by then it's too late. You already lost money, right? So we really started to focus on trying to look into the future, trying to forecast what is going to happen. And what are the things we can do right now to make sure that things go well in the future, and put together goals and budgets for everything in our company, from how many leads we're going to get every month, from month to month, seasonally adjusted for off season and all that stuff. How many appointments we're going to set, what our closing rate is, what our average sale is, how many appointments my sales guy can run in a month or a year after adjusting for canceled appointments and vacations and seasonality because we're slow. What their closing rate is, what their average sales, how much revenue they're going to be able to produce if they hit their key numbers, right? We teach them how to manage their comp plan so they can make good money. And then, obviously using production rates and budgets, making sure that all of our jobs are run profitable, right? And then you got to make enough money to break even. You got to cover your monthly nut, right? Your monthly burn, all your overhead. You got to make enough gross profit to cover that overhead. Right now we got to make $80,000 a month in gross profit just to break even. So all that stuff is just things that I've learned over the last 10 years. I wish someone would have taught me this shit when I was 25. You know what I mean?
That's why we're doing this. So explain to me when you started to actually record things on paper, right? For me, I'm really bad at that. I've been painting for a while now, and we're in the field, we're painting, and we look at how much money's in the bank, what do we have to pay in taxes, and that's where I was. And now I have an accountant now and a bookkeeper, and we're trying to schedule and look at things more. But for someone who doesn't do that, what's the first easy step someone could do that will be a lead domino to doing more of it?
We're talking about trying to grow the company past you holding a brush in the hand, right?
Yeah, just getting numbers. So many painters, like you said, we're not numbers people naturally. We're not looking. We didn't get into this to run spreadsheets.
Well, so again, if you're just going to track basic data, right? I mean, it's all about. I don't know if you've ever read Traction, the book Traction by Gino Wickman. The EOS operating model. Great book. If you haven't read it, I couldn't put it down when I read it. I'm going, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. The first coach that I hired 6 years ago said, you got to read this book. Right. I read the book and I fired him because I didn't need him anymore. Great book. If you haven't read it, it really kind of just makes business not sound super difficult. Right. But data is one of the components. There's 8 pieces of the EOS model, right? And data is one of them, right? It's collecting data. You got to know your data. You got to know your numbers. You hear that all the time. What the hell's a number, right? But you need to start with it. The business starts with marketing and sales, right? And most of us start off as painters. We're really good at painting. We're craftsmen, right? We're technicians. We're excellent at what we do. But hey, you know what? My boss is making all the money. I'm going to start my own company and I'm going to do what he's doing, right? And what happens is once you start your own company, the skill sets you learned as a painter or a technician, I'm not going to say they're irrelevant. They're only one little skill over here, right? I got to learn how to do marketing. I got to learn how to sell stuff. I got to learn how to train people, manage people, how to lead people. You know, I got to learn how to put together marketing pieces and standard operating procedures, and there's so many different hats, you know, accounting and forecasting and all. It's just like, oh my God, what do I do? Where do I start? You got to start with the awareness that you need to learn a different set of skills. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to, is you got to know, you got to understand at some point, wake up and go, you know what? Knowing how to paint isn't going to help me grow my company. Right? I'm not going to be able to get out of the pot and run a profitable company until I learn some business skills. So it starts there, right? I got to learn some business skills, right? And it all starts with sales and marketing, right? Those are the key numbers that if you want to grow and you want to grow profitably, you need to know those numbers. I got to know how much money it's going to cost me to market to get X amount of leads. And a lead conversion is basically a lead. Someone calls in, you got to convert that to an appointment. And you'd be surprised how many leads you lose because you only follow up with them one time and they never called you back. And like, I screwed them. They didn't call me back. I'm not going to worry about it. You need to follow up on that lead until it turns into an appointment, because you don't set that appointment, you lost the lead, and we're paying for leads, right? So lead conversions is the very front end. That's the first one. We track leads and appointments. And then we have a lead conversion, right? So right now our lead conversion is about 75%. We have leads coming in from a lot of different areas. Some of them really bad lead conversions. Some are really good. So just track that. That's easy. How many leads do I get? How many appointments do I set, right? Divide it. That's my lead conversion. That's a key metric. What can you do to improve it, right? Improve your follow-up calling system to set appointments. You know, instead of doing it once, you know, try texting, emailing, phone calling. You know, we have an 8-point follow-up process when it comes to leads, right? And we track all that stuff. So track that. Sales, 3 key numbers. How many appointments do I run? How many do I sell? What's my average sale? With those 3 numbers, man, you can build a forecast for your whole company. You use your marketing analysis and your sales analysis. You can forecast how many sales guys, how many appointments, how much revenue each sales guy can generate, right? But you need to have good data, right? Really, the front end, that's leads, appointments, close rate, average sale. Everyone listening to this has that data available to them if they just spend 2 hours and just collect it, especially smaller companies, man. Just go through your Google Calendar and count how many appointments you ran. That's how I used to do it. Just go through my past calendar. I do it for the whole year. I just count how many appointments I ran. Went through how many did I sell? How much revenue did we produce? Just divided by the number of jobs we did. That was my average sale, right? Easy to do. Spend an hour. You have the data already, right? Now you got the job, you got to make it profitable, right? So if you're not measuring and using production rates, you're guessing. It's the WAG method, right? Wild ass guess. Well, you know, I painted a house like this last year and, you know, we got it done in 5 days. So it's 80 hours and about 20 gallons of paint. You'd be surprised when you start to measure stuff, how much variables there are involved in it, right? So measure everything. Use production rates. It's easy to get your production rates. You can do it in a week. You could do it if you just track how many hours are spent by task. You could do it without even going out on site, you know? And then how much gross profit do you make? I sell a job for $10,000. I spent $3,000 in labor, $2,000 in paint. It cost me $5,000 to do that job. I made $5,000. That's a 50% gross profit margin. That should be your target. Everyone listening to this should be making at least 50% gross profit. And if you're painting yourself, you need to count your hours and your cost in there, right? You're a painter, you're producing, right? You need to calculate your cost as you're a painter, right? Guys charging 25, 35 bucks an hour just blows my mind. You're not going to make any money at that. You should be charging at minimum. I don't care what part of the country you're in. If you're not charging at least 60 bucks an hour for every hour produced, you're not going to make 50% gross profit. I don't care how fast you are, how great your painters are. I mean, unless you're just doing really shitty work, but I'm assuming everyone that's spending the time to listen to this, they care about quality craftsmanship, right? So we don't cut corners. We take care of our customers, do quality work, and we make money, right? Everybody wins. There are no losers. There should be no losers in business, right? Customer wins, employees wins, suppliers win, and the company wins. And you win as the business owner, right? There's no reason why you can't have all that. So if you're not making 50%, if you're not doing job costing, by the way, do it. You need to find out how much money you're losing on your jobs, right? Get your bill rate up. Everyone estimates a little bit differently. What you charge by hour, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant. I was in an estimating sales presentation, right? This guy was trying to sell us some software. And there was about 25 painting contractors in the room. It was a Sherwin-Williams event, right? Put this thing on. 25 contractors. They cared enough about their business and they're learning that they went to this thing for a full day, right? And 2 hours of it was with this guy trying to sell us his estimating software. And he puts a front of a house up on a screen, right? It's a little 2-story house, probably in Florida or something. Normally they do them around this stuff. And he goes, I want each of you to spend 5 minutes. And one of my estimators is there with me, right? One of the sales guys. He said, I want each of you guys to spend 5 minutes and tell me how many hours it's going to take to paint the front of this house, right? And we were talking about the hourly rate. What do we charge per hour, right? And these are all professional painting contractors. We go around the room. The numbers varied from 8 hours to 100 hours to paint the front of this house, right? His point was, hey, it don't matter what you charge by the hour, because this guy thinks it's going to take 8 hours. This guy thinks it's going to take 100 hours. So what difference does it make, right? And his whole thing was all about measuring and production rates and all that stuff. So hourly rates are all fine and dandy. It's really how much gross profit do you make every time you paint a house, right? What does it cost me for my labor? Include your labor burden, workers' comp, payroll taxes, whatever it costs you to produce that. Our average hourly rate, we pay anywhere between 28 bucks an hour, and I think our cheapest painter's making 16 bucks an hour, right? I don't even know. I don't think we have anybody making less than 18 bucks an hour. But our average cost is about 30 bucks an hour. I just raised it to 33, right? That's our cost. So you need to know what your cost is. It's my labor cost. I got 10 painters working for me. They range for that. My average cost per hour is this. Payroll taxes, add 12%. Workers' comp, depends on where you're at. In our area, it's another 12%, so we add 25% to our cost. That's my cost per hour, right? But do your job costing. And if you're not making 50%, raise your prices. It's the first thing I tell contractors. They want advice. I don't even care. I don't care. They ask me for what, raise your prices. I don't care what you're charging right now. But I can almost guarantee you, I'll talk to you for 20 minutes, and I will almost guarantee you, you're not charging enough money for your services.
Every time.
Right? I don't care. I don't care who it is. I mean, except for seasoned contractors that get it, right? Raise your prices. The easiest way to increase your net profit, one piece of advice. I will guarantee you that if you follow this advice, you will increase your net profit by 10%. 50%. Right? Raise your prices. Raise your prices is the easiest thing you can do to make more money. We get hung up thinking people buy because of price. Man, people don't buy because of price. They don't. We think they do, but they don't. Right? Anyone out there that's doing quality work and taking good care of their customers, they've been doing it for any amount of time. You have a certain clientele that you work for. It's because they care about service, quality. Prices, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant, but I haven't found the ceiling for how much I can charge yet. 15 years ago, my bill rate was $25 an hour. I can't raise that. I can't raise that to $30 an hour. No one's going to buy my stuff. There's no way. You raise it, nothing changes. I can't raise that to $35 an hour. There's no way I can't do that. You can. You can. Our bill rate last year, our effective bill rate last year, labor and materials, how many hours my painters worked, how much work we sold, total revenue, divide that, and we were almost $100 an hour. Right?
Labor and materials?
Yeah.
That's
effective. It's a good data point to track. Most guys don't know what to do with it, but it's something that we track, right? We track that just based on labor and material. We mark up all of our material. We price things a little different than the average contractor. Some guys don't mark up the material. Some mark it up different than their labor. We mark everything up the same amount, right? The best way to be able to forecast gross profit margins, because if you're charged different markups, your gross profit margins are going to be doing this, because you're not making the same percentage in every job that you're doing. A percent, to me, 50% gross profit is $10,000. I spend $3,000 on labor, $2,000 on material. I spend $5,000. It's a 50%. I make $5,000. It's a 50% gross profit. You need to be making money on your paint. You touch it, you should make money on it. They go buy their own paint. And most of us get 50% off of the paint. If you're not getting 50% off your paint, you need to renegotiate your prices, guys. All right.
Where do you buy your paint from?
Sherwin-Williams. Been our main supplier for quite a few years. We've gone Dunn Edwards. We don't get Benmore out here. It's their weekend out here on where we're at. PPG. We've tried them all. Sherwin-Williams. They get it. They serve contractors really well. But whatever you're paying for your paint, ask to pay less. You'd be surprised at how little you can pay for your paint. We get a 6% annual rebate, right? We're going to get a check this month for probably $35,000 from Sherwin-Williams. It's free money. They pay for our yard signs. We get paid for half our T-shirts that we printed last time. And we get good prices, There's always someone's going to get lower prices. You'd be surprised how little you can pay for your paint. But some guys kind of bullshit me. They tell me, "Oh, I'm only paying this." I'm going, "Yeah, right." But you control your costs. It's important. Especially the bigger you get, the more it starts to add up. You start buying. I think we spent $400,000 on paint last year. So every dollar per gallon starts to add up. You start doing that, right? So track your gross profit, right? And of course, net profit's the most important number, right? Revenue minus direct costs. What's my overhead, including your salary, right? Whatever you want to make. Some people want to make $200,000. Some people only want to pay themselves $40,000, whatever. Then you got your net profit, right? Total owner's compensation is important too. What's the total compensation the owner makes? That's the most important number. The rest of them are kind of irrelevant, right? I don't care how much what your top line number is. How much did you make at the end of the year? And we barely made a net profit last year. That's how bad it was, right? We had built an operational system for a $5 million a year company, and we only sold 3.5. So we barely even eked out a net profit. And we would have lost money if we'd not had a really good December. So it's not easy, man. Growing a company is hard. If you're not willing to sacrifice, and that's one of my first coaches told me. He said, "You really want to do this? What are you willing to sacrifice to do it?" Because anyone's been doing this for a long time knows what I mean by sacrifice, right? Waking up at 2:30 in the morning, start thinking about the job and shit you got to do, and tossing and turning. It's at 3:30. It's like, screw it. I'm going to get up. I'm just going to start working, right? We've all been there. And that's sacrifice, man. We work 24 hours a day. If you get 5 solid hours of sleep, man, you're doing good. And I don't care how good you are, unless you just don't care, right? I don't know. Anyone that says they get a great night's sleep, I don't know. They're not running a good business, No.
So tell me about mindset, and would your mindset an important thing? When did
Well,
that?
I kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, right? The first thing you got to mindset wise is to understand what you know and what you don't know. Right? A lot of you, we're all prideful people. I know when I was a young contractor, I'm going to do it my way. I don't copy the bill. I don't care what you tell me. I'm just going to do it my way, right? Because I'm unique. I'm going to do it different than everybody else. It's freaking the stupidest thing, and it's the worst thing to think, right? There are a ton of successful companies out there that have already figured it all out. They've already figured all this shit out. It ain't rocket science, man. All businesses kind of run the same. All services businesses run almost identically the same, right? Margin-wise, the way we run our companies, they're almost all the same. And people are selling information all over the place. You go to Facebook, I mean, you could find 30 coaches if you search for an hour. They have the marketing, the sales systems, and teach you how to do everything, mindset, right, and all that stuff. So the first thing is just know what you know and know what you don't know. And you really need to know what you need to learn, right? And that's mindset to me. It's just being aware, right? I need to learn how to market better. I need to learn my numbers. I need to learn how to track my data. You can't do it all at once, right? I need to learn how to sell stuff. I got to build a sales process. I got to make sure I start measuring. And so know what you know what you don't know. And then try to laser focus target on the 2 or 3 things that you need to learn in the next year that's going to have the biggest impact on your business, the quality of your life, right? If I just learned these one thing, right? If I just learned this one thing, try to pick the one thing that's going to have the biggest impact, right? I don't care if it's sales, marketing, production. It doesn't matter, right? Forecasting, there's a ton of things you can pick, right? Sales and marketing, I would argue, are probably the most important things for new companies, because it all starts there. If you don't estimate your work properly, you're not going to make any money. If you're not selling, you can't produce, you can't grow. There's all that stuff. So to me, marketing, sales, if you suck at that, learn that. Decide on what it is that you want to learn, right? Know what you don't know, right? Figure out what it is you want to learn, right? Then find out the best place to learn it from, right? Then you got to learn it, right? Then you go about learning it. Now, the last part, you got to execute. You got to implement. You got to put it into practice. Right? I don't know how many people you know, they love to read books. They're reading all these books about stuff. They're learning all this stuff. They didn't implement anything. Their business is still stuck, right? So I stopped. I used to read 15, 20 business books a year, you know. I stopped. I just read 1 or 2 and read it over and over again until I milked that baby dry and got everything out of it, and I've implemented everything, right? You don't need to read 100 books, right? And now information is so easy to get. Shit, when I was doing it, man, if you wanted to learn how to run a business, I mean, you had to go meet somebody that was a successful business owner, beg them to mentor you, right? Because back in early 90s, right, I found a small business resource center, right, where small business companies got together. It was like the newest things that ever. They'd give out these weekly audio cassettes that you listen to, you know, Jim Rome and Tony Robbins and you know, all this stuff. And it's just hard to learn stuff back then. I mean, you had to work really hard. Now, just jump up on social media, watch some YouTube stuff. You can learn everything. The information's everywhere right now, you know. It can be overwhelming, though. You tend to start going down these rabbit holes and learning stuff that you probably shouldn't be learning right now. Focus on the most important things to learn, and you got to stay laser focused on that, you know. So know what you don't know. Figure out what it is you need to learn. Find the best place to learn it, because there's a lot of bad information out there, right? Learn it and then execute. 5 steps. Should write a book. Right?
Part. That's the part that is so easily forgot. You know, it's like you can get rid of all of the anxiety or the pressure you feel for doing something by reading a book about it. You know, there's like a phenomenon where you read the book about what to do, and it makes the want to do it. Like, no, I know what to do now, but that doesn't mean anything. I like that.
One key pointer, right? Anyone that doesn't have Audible or is not listening to books right now,
yeah,
most of us drive a lot. And it's downtime. It's dead time. You know, when I was driving, I was making follow-up phone calls, right? I'd have my phone up on my dashboard, and I was running through my prospects from the week before, and I'd be making follow-up phone calls. Other than that, I had a book in the CD player, and I was listening to books and learning, right? And if you're driving around between appointments, you're listening to music and just enjoying life, nothing wrong with that, right? But if you want to grow and learn, you got to invest in yourself and knowledge. Audiobooks, man. Audible. It's $10 a month. Right? There's some great books you can listen to. So doesn't all have to be business, right? You need to throw some fun stuff in there too. But anyways, didn't mean to get sidetracked on that one.
No, Audible I keep them in business. I absolutely love Audible.
What I do when I'm listening, if something goes, oh my God, I need to implement that now, I pause, pull over. If you save it and you bookmark it, you're never going to go back. I pull over. I email myself all the time. I probably have 250 unread emails in my inbox right now, and half of them are from me, right? I know where it's at, right? And I'll process it, and I'll put it where it's supposed to go, and I'll learn it. But when you're taught something, man, that you think, oh, my God, I need to do that right now, you need to write it down. You need to get yourself a note, put it someplace. Because I don't know how many thoughts go through your mind every minute. There's, what did they say, 100 or something like that. There's no way you're going to remember that stuff, man. Write it down. Send yourself a note. You know, stop the book, circle it, send yourself a note, or better yet, just go ahead and implement it right now, right? You shouldn't just learn just for learning's sake, right? You need to implement what you learn. You know, it's something I've really tried to get better at over the last few years is don't learn so much. Focus on what I learn and then implement it, you know, as quickly as possible into the business so that you're trending in the right direction. You know what I mean? Sorry, we got sidetracked on learning. I forgot what you asked me.
No, I love that. I also really like what you talked about from the very beginning of if you're going to own a business, knowing how to paint is a small portion of what we need to know. And I think that is a very important message. Is like, if you're going to run a business, it's more than painting for people for money. That's a painting job. You go get them. And a lot of people, I think, could go get them and make more money than if they had their businesses. Because I think a lot of people do struggle to identify, oh, I need to go learn how to do basic job costing. And it's not that scary. I think a lot of people I know I have a tendency of getting scared or intimidated, and then you don't do anything. But, you know, if you know that's the next thing to do, and, you know, I've heard enough people now, and I've started to do it, like, it's not rocket science, right? Taking some notes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the point now. I mean, one of my main roles in my company is coaching, right? I'm coaching my sales guys. I'm coaching my field superintendents, my project coordinator, you know, my guy that's doing my books. And I've done all these jobs before. And I know the traps would get hung in. I mean, I know making follow-up phone calls. Know I'm supposed to do it. I'm out selling, you know, back when I was selling all the time. And man, you know, I block off time on my calendar, you know, time management, right? I'm sitting down in front of my computer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I got 2 hours. I'm going to make follow-up phone calls. And what do? You dick around. I'm going to answer this email real quick. I'm going to polish up this estimate I just did. And next thing you know, you don't do the activity that matters the most, which is pick up the phone, call the customer. We get in our own ways, right? And it's what you're talking about, right? So job costing is no different. I know I got to do job costing. Oh, I'll do it at 3 o'clock. And oh, no, to go to that job site instead, and then I'll do it tomorrow morning. You know, procrastination kills you. And we get in our way all the time. And all I do is just, when you get stuck, just make the first step. Open up the spreadsheet. Look at the calendar, grab the last job you did, and find what you spent on materials. It's not that hard, man. Especially now. Sherwin-Williams, you can track all your receipts. Hopefully everyone's got, accounts set up at Sherwin-Williams and not paying cash for all their paint. And hopefully you guys aren't picking up your own paint or having other guys pick up paint. Hopefully you guys are having it all delivered. If you're going to the paint store, it's costing you a ton of money.
Oh.
Job costing. Look at the job you did last week. Get your material receipts out. Write the number down. Pull up your timesheets and your payroll records for last week. Write down what you spent on labor. I don't care if it's 100% accurate. Just get the numbers on paper. Literally, that activity will probably take you less than 10 minutes if you stop procrastinating. Don't get afraid, right? Where can I find my material costs? Who's my vendor? Where's my invoices at? Hopefully you're tracking that stuff. How can I find out what I spent on labor? Not that hard. Hopefully you're at least tracking, labor hours by job, preferably by task is the best way to do it. Find out where you're underestimating. Subtract your cost by how much you charge for the job. That's your gross profit, right? It's weird. Once you start going, that's not that hard. Next thing you know, 2 hours later, you did the job costing for the last 2 months in a row, right? But then you got to analyze the data, figure out what you're doing wrong and fix it, right? That's what a lot of people get stuck at. I used to do that all the time. I'd spend all this time generating all these reports, and I didn't spend any time analyzing and actually, acting on the data that, what it was telling me. So, but just collect the data. You have almost all the data that you need, right? You know how many phone calls you get. If you don't, you need to start tracking that. You know how many appointments you set. Everyone should be able to track that. You should be able to track how many jobs you got. Do a little bit of math, right? You're going to get a closing rate. You're going to get an average sale. Hopefully everyone's tracking how much revenue they make in a year, right? Just divide. If you did $1 million and you did 100 jobs, right? Your average sale is $10,000. Just divide the numbers, right? It's a little bit of math. If you're not sure about the equations, I've got a list I send to other contractors of all the key data that I track, right, and what formulas to use for it. Track your costs. What's my gross profit? You just got to do it. None of it's that hard. Ain't any harder than painting. But again, you just got to be aware. It's mindset, right? That's what we started with. You ask about mindset. Do you want to be a painter? You want to sling paint the rest of your life? There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I kind of wish we go back. I haven't picked up a paintbrush and I don't remember the last time I picked up a paintbrush, right? It's not what I do. They don't pay me to paint anymore, right? They pay me for my brain now. So, once you get 10 painters for you, there's no reason for you to be slinging paint anymore, unless you're teaching somebody something, right? Your job as a coach, right? Either you're at 10 painters and a million, 500. There's ceilings in our business, right? And they're almost all the same, right? We start small. We're trying to grow. We get to this about $500,000 in revenue, right? I got 5-6 painters working for me. You're going to be right at that 500. It's like, oh man, I can't do everything anymore. I'm doing estimates at night. I do this stuff. I need some help, right? The next one's right at $1 million, right? And really each one of these phases is when you need to add a key person to the company, right? Either I'm going to hire someone to do administrative work, to answer the phones, to help me with my bookkeeping, scheduling appointments and all that stuff. I'm going to hire a sales guy to go sell stuff, or I'm going to hire someone to run production, right? Each of us has a superpower, right? We're really good at selling stuff. And if you're really good at selling stuff, you should probably keep that role, especially if you really enjoy doing it, right? Hire someone to do the accounting and the bookkeeping and answering the phones. Or hire someone to run the crews for you. Productions management is probably the most difficult position in our business. You ask 20 different painting contractors that have a project manager what their core role is, they'll all be different. They will. What's a project manager do for you? I guarantee you it's different than what my project managers do, right? And if they're not producing revenue or improving your gross profit margins or substantially improving the customer experience, I mean, metrics that you can actually track that they're doing, that they're producing something, chances are your project manager's just costing you money. You know, get rid of them. If I was to start over again, the first key hire that I would have selected would have been a salesperson. It's the easiest position to train. It's the guy that's generating revenue. And I've got a decent sales profile. You can do disc scores. I can sell stuff because I'm just passionate about what I do. I got a sales guy right now that's on paper should, kill it. And he's actually doing really well now too. By far the first position I would have hired. Going back, I get to that $500,000 mark. I need some help. I'm hiring a sales guy. Hands down. I'm going to find a good salesperson, teach them. Hopefully I've got my sales process. I would have built the sales process, measuring production rates, proposals, how to sell, right? Have some nice printed assets for him to leave behind and all that stuff, and hire a sales guy, administrative stuff, that's not that hard. That's pretty easy to train too, So then you get to that, so you get to that 500,000, you hire someone to get to that $1 million. Pretty easy. You get to that $2 million mark. That's the ceiling that most people get stuck at. That's when things get, because every time you add a key person, the communication lines, you're adding another line that people got to communicate. Everything gets more complex, right? And we tend to make business a lot more complicated than it needs to be. But you get to that $2 million mark, and it's really tough to break through that ceiling and keep a profitable company and be able to scale up from there. It's where most of us, you talk to a lot of guys that have, fairly large companies, and we're all in that $2 to $3 to $4 to $5 million range, right? You talk to someone that's got past that, they'll tell you, had to tear it down and rebuild it a couple times, but I finally got to figure it out, right? So it's not easy. It's super hard, man. If you're not up for the task and willing to find out what you got to learn and figure stuff out and change and break stuff and fix it again, I mean, you can't just keep plugging away and doing the wrong things, man. You got to stop, reset, lick your wounds, rebuild. I mean, you got to be resilient. Resiliency is probably the strongest trait, most important trait that a business owner needs to have. You got to be able to get knocked down and get back up again. You know what I mean? If you can't do that, man, just don't do it. So you're a member of the Business Brush, right? That's where we hooked up at. But Nick just posted something today. Average painting contractor in the United States makes like $44,000 a year.
You can make
that's the average. That's the average painting contractor, right? That means there's guys making less than that.
Yeah.
Right. But shit, you go work for somebody for $25 an hour and take the winters off, and you're making that kind of money. The hell you starting a company for? And putting yourself through all that, right? If you're not making six figures running your own company, just go work for somebody else. It's not worth it. If you're not down for learning how to run a company, just don't do it. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Just go paint. I mean, there's guys like me. I'd pay someone that was a really good, that was good enough to go start his own company, right? Come work for me. I'll pay you 50, 60, 70 grand a year to go paint for me, man. You go home. I know when I work for other people, I slept like a baby. Yeah. Right? To go put them in 8 hours. I go home. It's like party time. I don't have to worry about nothing. I don't have to worry about making payroll and, where the next lead's coming from, where the next job's coming from, and having to make sure all your employees have work and to get paid. God, it's not worth it.
I think that's a great point. And that needs to be talked about more is, do you want to do like what you said? Like, do you want to take business and play it like it's a game? Like, if you don't want to do that, then don't start a painting company. Because, there's a bunch of, all of us are looking for key, awesome people. And we'll pay them well. And so if you're not looking to play the game of business, then and learn and play, like you're saying, manipulate and change things and see how that plays out. And, then maybe don't run a business.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Right? Owning a business isn't for everybody. I mean, I can't tell you. It's one of the things that we joke about it, right? When we're recruiting, we're trying to hire people, and someone that has ran their own painting company that applied, I said, they're not a good fit, right? The guys that failed in business are probably the guys that you ask them what their day looks like. I guarantee it's like this. They get up at, 7:30, 8 o'clock. They have some breakfast. They read the paper. It's like, oh, guess I better get to work. Show up at the job, around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Well, lunch, 12:30. Hour, drink beer at lunch or whatever it is. Shut it down 3 or 4 o'clock. They want to know why they failed. It's like, I don't want that guy working for me. We do custom work, but we're with my superintendent. We're custom production painting, right? We do top quality work, but we're grinders. I mean, you got to work Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4, and be willing to work overtime if we need you. And as soon as you're done with that job, you're on to the next one, right? I mean, our schedule, we're always stacking a rack and trying to get as much as we can out of each hours of resources, right? Paint's resources, our equipment, and all this stuff is a resource, right? And the people we have working for are by far the most important resource that has the biggest variable as far as how much you're going to get out of them, right? And it kind of sounds, people get put off, humans are resources. Oh, you can't talk like that. I'm going, if you don't understand that, right? It's not that I'd love my guys, and I coach my guys all the time. I want them to be successful, have happy lives and all that stuff. But man, if you have an unproductive painter working for you, you got to get rid of them. You either got to fix them or get rid of them. Because that by far is the most controllable expense that you have. If you don't know what your labor rate is, what percentage you spend on labor, that's a key number. You need to know, in a year, I did $1 million of sales and I spent $250,000 on labor. My labor rate percentages, 25%. Next year, I want to see if I can get it down to 22%, right? And down to 20, either by raising my prices or teaching my guys how to do it faster, better, or find something that's going to make us more money. It's by far, our human resources, most important resource we have in our companies. And if you're not getting the most out of your people, and you don't have people that, want to work hard for you, that's leadership skills, right? As the owner of the company, man, people look up to you. And if you don't have good habits and care and love your customers and care about your people, then your guys aren't, right? People, you're the vision, right? If you want to build a great company doing, full of great people, doing great work, people are, good people are going to get behind you, man. They're going to want to serve you. They're going to want to serve the company. They're going to want to serve their customers and the guys they work with, man. That's the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. You got anyone on your team that doesn't care about the customer, that doesn't get along with the guys, man, just get rid of them. They're not producers. I've gotten rid of some really good painters, man, that top producers that killed it, but man, they were just drama. Every week complaining about this, complaining about coming, complaining about the customer, the equipment, the paint, the guys they're working with. It's just like, I can't get rid of him, man, because he's doing so good. He's killing it on the jobs. But the customer service isn't there, and the guys just don't want to work with them. You cut that guy, man. The next week, it's like, life is so much better. You know what I mean? Cut the cancer. Build a team, build a company with great people. It's hard to do though, and if you don't have your shit together as the leader of the company, you should be doing it. Just get out of it. Just go do something else. It's hard to live a clean life, man. To be honest, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. We talk about integrity and all that stuff. Man, we all screw up, man. I make mistakes. I've made mistakes my whole life. I've done a lot of stuff I'm not proud of. You can't be perfect, man. When you do something wrong, own it. Your guys do something wrong, as long as they own it, they apologize, they promise to do better next time. As long there's certain limits that you can't live with, right? But good people, they're hard to come by, man. A lot of people just don't care. They don't care. I don't want you around. Someone doesn't show up for work, doesn't bother calling. Anyone's got employees, right? That guy. Monday, new job start. Where's Joe? It's 8 o'clock, not here yet. texting him. He's just ghosting you, right? Next day, oh, boss, I'm sorry, man. I had a flat tire. I should have called you. I didn't. It's like, dude, you don't care about me. You don't care about our customer. You don't care about the guys that you were supposed to be working with today. The hell we care about you for? You know? You think just you missing work costs you money? No, it hurt everybody. Hurt the whole company. Hurt everybody around you. They don't want you. You know, a lot of guys don't even correlate how their actions affect everybody else, right? And you might have a guy that cares, and you explain it to them like that, and they're like, oh, I really never thought about it that way anymore. I'm sorry, boss. They take some ownership from them. They promise to do better next time, right? No call, no show. You're out. I don't care how good you are.
Yeah. Was it always like that for you? Did you have to learn that the hard way like I did? Keeping people for like the first few times?
I still do it, dude. I still do it, man. Do as I say, not as I do, right? I'm getting better at it, though. I still make bad hires, and I hang on to them longer than I should. I'm getting a lot better at it, though. I can't remember. I was listening. I think I was reading it. Maybe it was a business journal or something. And they were interviewing CEOs, and one of them said they were asking for advice. It's hire slow, fire fast. You don't have a good fit. We usually know, too. I mean, I hired a project coordinator. I was really, I lost 2 project managers late last year. One of the reasons why I was hurting so bad. I saw us fill in. I needed to hire a project coordinator. I needed some help. And I hired this gal that I thought was great. She came in, had a ton of experience. We had a great conversation. She thought like I did. Second day in, we were going over some stuff, some training, and I was at the computer. I looked over, and she was doing this. Nodding off. I know she was medication, didn't know what it was. Right then, I should have said, we're done. You got to go. But I needed the help, man. I was like, hey, you got to run with it. Something's wrong. I asked her if she had personal problems, whatever. And, she stuck around for 45 days. I should have cut her day 2. I knew. I went home. I said, oh, man, Corey did this, told Christy that. And I said, oh, man, I probably should get rid of her. But, man, I really need the help. And sure, she was just a horrible fit, man. Should have just cut her. But it's hard. You need the body, right? You're better to run shorthanded than have someone with cancer working for you. If you got one of those, run an ad, hire somebody, get rid of them. You're going to be a lot happier for it, And the rest of your team is going to be happy. If you don't like that person, I guarantee you the rest of the guys on the team or gals on the team aren't going to be happy with them either. Cut them. When you do, they're going to be like, oh, my God, you finally got rid of that guy. Yeah.
It's amazing what comes out afterwards. Everyone then all of a sudden is like, you start hearing stories. You're like, why didn't you tell me that before?
I don't know if it's just the painting industry or what it is. For some reason, painters just want to protect each other. I mean, I run 2-man crews, right? So I hire a new painter. I send him out to a crew leader. I said, hey, let me know how well he's doing. Because he's not doing good, we got to make sure we coach him up or get rid of him. I'm paying him journeyman wages. He's supposed to be able to produce as fast as you. All of a sudden the jobs start coming in over budget, and I'm like, hey, what's the problem? He goes, he's doing all right. He's a good guy. He's all this stuff. And hey, it's either it's your job, right? These guys just want to protect each other. I mean, I appreciate protecting. You don't want someone to cost someone their job, but my Lord, it's affecting you and your job, and you got to cover for them. And, man, if someone's not working out well, just say so. We coach them up or get rid of them. But for some reason, I'm sure you deal with it. Oh, yeah. Painters want to protect you. It's a new guy, right? We got 10 guys on our team that have been with us for years, and we bring the new guy on board. For some reason, they want to protect this guy that's hasn't earned his spot in the company yet. Yeah. That's an asshole. Takes long breaks, right? Doesn't care about someone, and it takes 3 months to find out this guy's not a good fit. Man, we should know after 3 days. Let's get better at getting rid of those guys. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It is. Painters, they're weird. Weird people.
We are.
But I love them. I love them.
How did your wife start working in the company right away?
No. We couldn't afford to. But it was probably a couple years after I started. I mean, we ramped up pretty quick. Did a lot of new custom homes, so I was able to connect with several builders, and she come. So that was the first ad, right? We got to that point, you know, that $500,000 market. Back then, we're talking early '90s, so the 500,000 was probably a little less back then. But when I needed help, so I hired. She basically joined the company, and she did all the administrative stuff, right? She handled all the office, the bookkeeping, and answered the phone, scheduled appointments, and all that stuff. So that was the first ad for my company. But again, there was no master plan. I didn't have it all figured out by then. I'm just winging it. You know? So I'm super busy. I got to hire somebody. I don't know what they're going to do yet or how they're going to do it, but I need some help. I'm going to hire a sales guy. You go run, you know, appointments with them for 4 days, and then you just go tell them to go sell by themselves. Right? Don't have any, you know, way to figure out pricing. Just, I taught you how to guess. Guess like me. And you want to know why they don't succeed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did it for years, you know? So I know exactly what guys go through. If you're going to replace yourself, you need to have at least some basic processes in place. If you're going to hire a bookkeeper, you have to know. I think you asked me about org chart, right? So our org chart, organizational chart, EOS term is accountability chart, right? So they're big into accountability. Everyone's got 4 or 5 core roles that they own in the company, right? Like my sales assistant, the guy that answers the phone, right? He knows the most important thing that he does for the company is convert a lead into an appointment. That gets me an ROI, gets the company a return on his investment. If right now we're converting at 75%, man, I need you to get us to 80%. Do whatever you can. Oh, and by the way, you still have to qualify those leads and don't set that appointment if they're not a good fit, but I still want that 80%, right? He knows that that's the number one thing that he's supposed to do for the company. You know, second most important thing is doing follow-up phone calls to help my sales guys make sure that they follow up on all the appointments that they did run, right? He does some other stuff, but I keep him focused on those 2 things, and we track that stuff, right? And we go over it once a week, so he knows how many appointments came in, or how many leads came in, and how many appointments he set, right? And our sales guys, they know that their closing rate is the most important number. They need to close at least 30%, you know, 1/3 of all their appointments. They run 3 appointments, they need to sell 1. And we track it once a week, right? Every week, scorecard goes up. How many jobs, how many appointments did you run? How many did you sell? What was your total revenue? What was your average sale? Look at it every week. Right? Someone's dogging it. Hey, if you don't hit your numbers, you better come in and tell me what you're going to do different this week than you did last week. Right? You got to hold everybody accountable, right? You know, so everyone needs to know the 2 or 3 things that matter the most in what they do, right? And you got to hold them accountable for them. That's what scorecards are for, right? Try and track what you can and hold people accountable and try to improve everything, right? You know, your crew leaders, what's the most important thing they do, right? What's the difference between a crew leader and a painter on the field? You don't just get paid more, right, to be a painter, right? You got to do a little bit of paperwork, right? I just need you to track your hours for you and your guy by task as well as you can. When you start the job, there's a little 10-point checklist that you got to get on the same page with the homeowner and do your little checklist when the job starts. And when the job's done, you got a little final inspection you got to check off to make sure you did your job right before you walk with the homeowner. You got a few checklists that you got to do. You get paid more money for that. You get a bigger bonus, you know. That's what's different between you and our painters. Our painters, man, their main role is to support the crew leader, right? You got to work hard, bust ass, get the job done on time, do quality work, take care of our customers, support, you know. Everyone. So my point is, if you're going to hire someone, whether it be an accountant, someone to help you answer the phones, man, you should have at least a process on how I want the phones to be answered, the questions that you got to ask when you're setting an appointment, when to schedule appointments, you know, the time blocking, whatever it is, how to, you know, qualify leads when they come in to make sure we're not, you know, running an appointment in the worst part of town with someone who doesn't even own a house, right? Have just some basic, you don't have to be super detailed, man, just some basic processes. This is what your core role is and how to do it. That way, when you hire them, they understand what their core role is. You train them how to do it. And then you just have to supervise. A lot of people do that and they just let them go. Hire a sales guy, you just let them go, and they don't ever ride with them or look at what they're doing or help them or coach them. You know, you got to supervise. You got to keep coaching and training, and it never stops. You know, you're going to hire a sales guy, man. You got to have at least the basic sales tools, man. You got to know what they have to measure, where the numbers go, what the production rates are, how to write a scope of work. You know, I template all that stuff, so try to make it as easy as possible. But in painting, there's a lot of variables, right? So I don't care how good the estimating software is. You can't just plug and play. There's always variables. House is on a steep roof. It's in bad condition. There's wood windows. Customer's going to be tough. Got to wrap the trim. There's a bunch of extra prep. I mean, all that stuff, you got to be able to see all that stuff. And I don't care what kind of sales estimating software. There's not one out there that's going to be able to. I hear all the time, man. What estimating software are you using? I said, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to use the national production rate. So that's only going to tell you how many hours and how many gallons of paint it's going to take to paint a flat wall with nothing in the way, right? It's not going to account for there's a bunch of bushes in front of that house that I got to trim back and I got to ladder into, right? It doesn't factor in that, it's January and it's freaking cold and we're only going to be able to work 5 hours a day. My painters are freezing their ass off, right? I mean, you got to be able to account for all that stuff. So, but it's better than nothing, right?
Sorry. My guys are going to sit in downstairs of a tower in Boston and an elevator for an hour and a half each day.
We were just looking at a house that's on the 5th floor, and I was telling my sales guys, "Hey, you realize it's a commercial? Yeah, it's one of our remodeling projects." I said, in order to be able to demo that thing, man, we're going to have to get a chute dumpster. Hopefully, it's down by the state capitol, so hopefully we can do that. And that's all going to cost money, and then how are we going to get all our material and our equipment up there to build this thing, right? I mean, you got to add at least 10% to all the labor costs to be able to account for that, right? There's variables. Every job's got variables. So we have our basic production rates and all of our estimating, and then I have a list of variables. And I try to have a formula for every variable too, right? Hey, if it's a steep roof on the house, add 25% to the labor hours, right? So they don't have to guess. I try to get the guessing down to, I'd rather me guess than them, right? Just give them formulas. And I get better at it every year, Yeah,
do you have a formula for oil over latex over oil? I just saw that.
The formula you need is for your sales guy to know when there is oil-based enamel on that, right?
A project, and I was thinking to myself, like, how many people are going to catch this? So that's obviously a huge deal. If you don't find that, you bid the project. I mean, all the paint has to come off the trim.
Oh yeah, especially if you don't catch it till after it's painted. Hopefully your crew leaders can see it.
Yeah,
I get it. But a sales guy that doesn't know how to paint, which is really common, they miss stuff like that, right? Because that's an easy one to miss. Man, your crew leaders can't identify that, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of older buildings. That's on you. You got to train your guys how to identify that stuff. We haven't done that in a long time. Several times though, my sales guy missed it, right? And we have to prime it. So
those are the things I think as a business owner, when I hear hire a salesman, like that stuff, like that's probably the role I'm going to hold on to longest, because we do like ultra high end custom residential stuff. It's all over the map with every project's completely unique almost. And it requires me that. And I think in my business, I'm going to be there for a while. But, because I think about that, like that job, that could be $30,000 wrong with the scale of this project, 25, 30,000 that they didn't catch. And
yeah, but you could fix that with a clause in your contract. Yeah. Like in ours, if there's lead in the paint, we have a lead abatement clause or lead paint prep clause, right? that if it's that the house is built before 78, it excludes that. So I mean, you could put something in there, but you just have to have a process in place to be able to catch it before the job starts and notify the customer, right? So, all of our sales guys, they take pictures of everything, so, you should be reviewing all this, especially if you hire a new sales guy. My first sales guy, I had taught him how the WAG method, right? So I had to review all of his work. I had to review every quote he did. I had to look at it. I had to look at pictures, look at the measurements, and fix it and fix the scope. And I said, no, I can't scale a company this way. It doesn't work. All right. So if you say that I have to do this, right, then you're never going to let go of the vine. Right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's a way to do everything, right? It doesn't require you to do it, right?
They made it to the moon. Like, we're just painting houses.
Just painting houses, man. I don't care what problem that you come across, it's already been solved. Yeah. Someone's already solved it. You don't need to figure it out by yourself, especially nowadays. Everyone's willing. I mean, that's what's cool about the communities, right? Is that everybody's willing to share. Especially now the world's a smaller place. You're all the way on the other side of the country. I can give you all of my business secrets. I don't have to worry about you coming here and taking over market share. I even talk to contractors that are local. I have nothing to hide, man. If I can help somebody figure it out faster than me, help their lives by giving them a little nugget of something they've been looking for. I mean, everyone's willing to help. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all, in the end, that's all you have left is what you've given people, right?
Yeah.
You teach your kids, teach your friends, it's your legacy, right?
Love it,
I
man.
guess.
Dude,
I'm not that old yet. But you talk to the old guy, right? The guy that's 75, man, they want to sit down and they want to try and, man, if I could teach you what I know, oh my God, you're like, and when you're young, you're like, old man, you know what you're talking about. I got it all figured out. I already have all the answers. Like, man, you don't know shit.
In my bank account. I got it all figured out, but in my bank account.
That's it. Right?
Well, Tim, I really appreciate this time. We could go forever, but we have to stop at some point. So let's wrap up with our 3 questions that we ask everybody. I know you're ready. I know you got a DIY tip for me. You haven't painted in a long time.
But hey, if I was going to give you a DIY tip, it would be hire a painting contractor. Let's see, whatever I did. Oh, okay. DIY tip of the day from Tim Perryman. Don't buy cheap paint.
My man.
Buy top of the line. Buy top of the line paint. Do not buy cheap paint. Do not buy a cheap paintbrush. Buy the best paint you can get your hands on. I used to not believe in that years ago. I'm a true believer. We use nothing but the top of the line stuff, and it makes a difference, especially nowadays with low VOC and all that stuff. Better quality paint, better binders, better quality raw ingredients, better coverage, looks great, lasts longer, easier to maintain. A little tougher to apply though, right? It's weird how cheap paint you can not do a very good job applicating, and it looks a lot better. The better paints, higher solids, they're a little bit more difficult to apply, but use the best paint you can get your hands on. That's my tip.
Love it. What is your favorite piece of paint paraphernalia? So that could be from the painting, but it could also be through running a business, whether it's a tool, software.
I wrote them both down, right? Because you said for a paint tool, and I don't paint anymore, right? Someone told me that you should never ever say you're not a painter anymore. I said, well, what if I haven't painted in 15 years? I still know how to paint. So I wrote down two. A lot. I think this first one is, I started off as a production painter. A lot of people that, I'm sure probably a lot of people listen, they're repaint painters. And so you don't learn production when you're a repaint painter, unless you've done production housing. Have you ever done new track housing before?
No.
Okay. So houses are lined up right down the street. Right. So when I was doing production houses, my first job was prep guy. masking houses, right? I just masked. That's what I did. It just masked everything. I got really good and fast at masking, right? And then I started, puttying nail holes and caulking. I got really good and fast at that. Then I was a spray guy. I was spraying walls. That's what I did. I worked for this one guy. I would every day would spray the inside walls on a house. Take me 5 hours, and then I would go putty a house, right? Then I just painted exteriors. I did that for a whole freaking year. Just me and one guy, we just painted all the exteriors on this house. So it's production line. So you get really good and efficient at one task, right? And in the repaint world, there is no production line, right? Everything's different. Every house is different. One day you're prepping a mask, and next day you're doing body, next day you're doing trim, and your trim's different. And it's everything. You can't really set up a production line. I think it's probably there's some companies that have done it, but it's really tough to do. So one contractor I work with, he introduced me to the spray pole. And he said, basically I sprayed inside and outside. I was a spray man, right? It's like the glory position, right? The spray guy, right? And he said, you're not to take this off. I want you using this on everything that you paint, right? 3-foot wand with a swivel on it, right? And I've hired a ton of, I've been repaints and most repaint painters don't use spray wands, right? So if you don't have one of those in your grip, you can get the skinny ones. Skinny ones have a lot of blowback on them, right? You get the little thicker, heavier pull. I mean, it's big time saver, man. So spray pole for the painting contract doesn't have one. Go get one. A good one's going to cost you about $80, and it's going to make your life a lot easier if you learn how to use it. Just YouTube it, and they'll show you how to do it.
You put a swivel, and you put a clean shot or whatever that thing is.
You want a swivel on it. I mean, they sell the smaller ones. You can get them with. You can add on extra 3-foot pole with a swivel on it. You just got to learn how to use it. There should be a YouTube video for it. If there's not, I can make one. But actually, I don't paint anymore, so I can't do it. So anyways, for a business owner, it's the spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are your friend. I got a spreadsheet for just about everything in my company when it comes to estimating, when it comes to job costing, when it comes to tracking field budgets, putting together a company budget, marketing analysis, sales analysis, scorecards. It's all about the spreadsheets, man. If you don't know how to use a spreadsheet, you're going to struggle. And they're not hard, but it's best business tool that I use in just about every facet of the company, right? The spreadsheet. It doesn't matter. Excel, G Sheets, it doesn't matter. They're the same.
That word gives me such agita and anxiety, and it's not rational. And man, spreadsheets have never been something. I know how to use them. I did well in Excel computer class, but man, sitting down and typing out and putting things into a spreadsheet is something I need to work on.
It's like anything else. When you first started painting, were you great at it?
Yeah.
Did you start painting and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm the best painter ever?
Not a chance.
Right? When you first started, cutting in with a brush, didn't know how to hold it, you're like wiping all the paint off the edge of the bucket, right? You don't know what the hell you're doing. Don't know how to clean it. No, man, you had to put hundreds of hours into that task to get really good at it. Spreadsheets are no different. It's just a different tool, right? Paintbrush, the spray pole, the spreadsheet, right? It took me to learn how to use that spray wand, right? I like, oh my God, this is stupid. Right? But after using it for 2 weeks, I'm going, oh my God, I see what he's talking about. This thing is freaking awesome. I had a hard time taking it off. When I started doing repaints, it's like, I can't use it. You get a little bit messy, right? Because you got to be a little bit cleaner with the repaints. But spreadsheet, the same thing, man. You can't expect to sit down in front of a spreadsheet and go, I got to figure it out. Right? You just got to start building stuff, right? Start adding data to it. And you got to know basic math, subtraction, addition. There's just a few buttons on there. I mean, Excel is insane what it can do, right? I'm not an expert at Excel at all. I know basic math, and I know how to put letters and numbers in cells, and I know how to do basic equations. That's all you need to know how to do, right? And you can steal, formats and all that stuff from other people. Everyone's got that stuff already built, So anyways, that's my my painter tool and my business owner tool. You got two of them. You got the bonus. You got the bonus one.
Before somebody asked, we didn't get into this, but what is your best marketing channel?
Repeat customers.
Yeah.
If you want to grow your company and you're not sending out an email or just touching your customers in some way, somehow, and if someone bought from you, right, and you did good service for them, send them an email. It's wintertime. We're looking for work. Anything you can do to help us out? You send that out to 100 customers. Oh my God, you're going to get 20 leads, right? So existing customers make up half our revenue. It's kind of just trends that way. It's going to be tough if you really try to scale your business fast to get a big chunk of that. You can only grow so much through that channel, but by far, you're going to convert almost all those appointments, all those leads into appointments. And you're going to have your highest closing rate because they've already bought from you. That should be, if you're going to do marketing, that's going to be the first thing I tell you to do. Market towards your existing clients, newsletters, social media. You're great at Instagram. Whatever it takes to touch that existing customer, ask them for referrals, right? Ask them for reviews. All that stuff helps. And then referrals, by far second, the least expensive leads you're going to buy, and they're the highest quality ones, right? So I just did my marketing analysis. So repeats was number one, referrals was number two. We're talking cost per lead, conversion rates, closing rates, average sales. They were the best, right? Number three was Facebook, which we suck at. But we converted a lot of those into appointments. We closed a lot of them. They weren't as good as the other ones, but it was number three. So we're going to try to become experts at that this year, social media. So maybe we can learn from you a little bit. You younger guys, man, you guys got this stuff figured out. Us old dogs, man, we still want to print everything.
I will gladly, we teach classes in it and stuff here at finishing school. I will gladly share anything I can, and I might pick some of those spreadsheet templates up you got.
Yeah. So yeah. And then Google's pretty good too, right? So we just switched our Google AdWords. We outsourced that, right? So we may end up outsourcing our social media too, because it's a lot of work. But I mean, you kind of got to collect, pictures and videos of your jobs that you're doing in order to be really effective at it. So it's not easy.
You not to do that when we talk. I think it's very, very difficult to outsource it and have it work out well. I think it's easier to hire and have it work out well, because you have to pay a lot to get someone to take your company's and communicate it clearly to the world. And it will be vanilla as could be. It won't tell your customers anything about what your company is, what makes you special. And it'll do posting, but it won't actually bring in your ideal client and turn over the numbers that you'd want it to. The best thing to do is to have your salespeople running your social, if that's possible. It's not always possible, but when you do it in-house, all it is it needs to be a documentary of your company. So who better to do a documentary on your company than you?
Right.
So
again, my time is a finite resource.
Yeah.
And basically what that is lead gen. It's lead generation, right?
Yeah.
My time's the most valuable resource in our company, right? So should I be out doing lead generation? Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe part of it, right? But this, when you're trying to generate a lot of leads, when your company's big, you need a lot of leads, right? I think we need over 2,000 leads this year in order to be able to feed the machine, right? So, so in our company, that's the fair 20 hours a week, maybe on social media. I don't know how many hours a week you spend on social.
I would say I spend probably 15 hours.
Yeah.
I don't need to,
That's half a full-time job, right? Yeah. And if you want to do really good at it, I mean, are you out collecting photos and all that stuff too, or are you just kind of getting those on the fly, right? So
Well, I think that, again, like you said, you build the system and then you pass it on to somebody.
Right. And outsourcing, it's either hiring somebody or finding, not necessarily a company, but there's people that'll work part-time. You go to Upwork and what's that other one? You get virtual assistants that specialize in that stuff. So I don't know. Anyways, so we're going to try and get a lot better at that this year, because those are pretty inexpensive leads and a good lead source, and it ended up being a much better performer than I thought it was. That's the whole thing when you start. See, we track all that data too. So you ought to see my lead source spreadsheet, right? So I track all of our data by each lead source, so I know how well we're performing on each lead source and what's working and what's not working, and then we say, okay, it's our top 6 leads. We're going to try and put and really our top 6 leads generated 3/4 of our business, right? And we have about 25, 30 lead sources. And the other ones were like, really not a whole lot of activity going on down there.
Yeah.
Why are we spending time and energy on that? Let's get better at these top 6 and dump the low performers. So
that's awesome. All right. Well, now there's the big fun one. I need the most embarrassing, biggest horror story that you've got in your rich history of painting.
Oh, you didn't say embarrassing. You said horror story.
Horror story, whatever it is. It's embarrassing. I painted the wrong house. It didn't cost me that, cost my dad money. We've had a whole list of people. Nick Slavic spilled paint on a rug, tried to clean it up, couldn't clean it up, and put a chair over the top of it.
He didn't own it. He tried to hide it. Oh God, it's the worst thing you can do.
This was earlier.
When you screw something up, man, you got to just rip the Band-Aid off, man.
Yeah.
Oh God, I got tons of those. God, property damage ones. Jeez. Some guy cleaning carpet with goof off, Berber carpet. First of all, I'm not supposed to get paint on the carpet, but he used goof off on it. Man, I went in the next day and there was all these little puff marks on his carpet. Damage it. That was $5,000. We power washed the wrong house. We were doing a garage door where we're supposed to strip it and refinish it, and the guy stripped the wrong door on the wrong house. Years ago, I was painting my parents' house, and they lived down in San Francisco. And day one, oil-based fast dry primer, bringing it up the stairs, dropped a bucket. There to impress my mom and dad working on their house, right? I got 30 years of doing this. God, and I've got people working for me that make mistakes all the time. Probably a good one, I think, would be a good learning lesson for the people listening, particularly if you're doing new construction. I was going to say the biggest horror story of my career was about 11 months ago. We were in the middle of a marketing conference. Last year was the year I wanted to become an expert at marketing. Around middle of March, got a text. Everything's shut down. You got to shut your company down.
Yeah. That's
a cheesy one. Everyone had to go through that one.
Yeah.
That COVID, I tell you what. Hopefully just a once-in-a-lifetime event. Hopefully that's a once-in-a-200-year event, man. And let's hope that's not a freaking normal occurrence that we got to go on, because I've never lived through anything even close to what just happened, right? And we're all lucky we survived. I mean, thank God we got some free money from the government. Yeah. So I don't really have a great horror story. It's because we never screw anything up. Everything's perfect in my company. Never made a mistake before.
But that's the secret.
My guys that never screwed anything up before. We're perfect. We do. I had a project manager that one of our customers one time said, I was in construction project management for 35 years, and we never finished a job late. I said, dude, you're full of shit, man. Word to God. You guys, I can't believe you're behind schedule. It's like, dude, you're full of shit, man. Liar.
Tim, I really appreciate your time. I mean, dude, your brain is something else, man. No wonder you're successful. Um, this has been awesome. I think a lot of value. You've inspired me on a few fronts to go get better. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your time.
It's good. No, it was fun. I love talking shop, man. I always tell people, man, if you could just get one piece of advice that you can take with you, you know, and it helps your business. I've gone to seminars all weekend long, and I walk away with like 2 things that I learned that are going to help me, right? You know, if I can help anybody in any little way possible, you know, it's all about helping people. That's why I do what I do, right? That's why I'm in the home improvement industry. Is I love helping people. You know, it's hard, but that's what gets me up every day. You know, improving people's lives, right?
Love it, man. Well, Tim, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.